Carney stunned as Governor General's move shakes up election plans. Liberals in disarray. Canada is in the eye of a political storm. What began as what seemed like a routine effort by Mark Carney to command respect and secure a strong mandate has unraveled into a dramatic constitutional clash. His promise to maintain stability amid global uncertainty, especially regarding U.S. trade policy, appeared to resonate broadly with voters. But on election night, the Liberals managed just 169 seats, 3 short of a majority, leaving the national landscape fractured and uncertain. Savvy political observers started noticing anomalies almost immediately. In Vancouver South, the number of ballots cast exceeded the registered number of voters. In other razor-thin ridings, Newton, Milton, Halton Hills, Windsor, Lakeshore, Terrebonne, vote margins dipped so low they automatically triggered judicial recounts. Newfoundland's Terra Nova was decided by a mere 12 votes. Detroit-flavored speculation invaded, but the truth was that these tight margins, combined with postal ballot confusion and logistical mix-ups, cast a long shadow over the result. Carney had invested heavily in schemes and spreadsheets, building his campaign around his global economic standing. He emphasized Finance credentials from the Bank of Canada and the Bank Oil stability, tying Canada's future to his CF England. But for many voters, his campaign ignored the crunch of everyday life. The squeeze of sky-high housing costs, the burden of rising grocery prices, and the insecurity of an aging population waiting for long-term care. Pierre Poilievre had surged opposite him. He tapped into the frustrations of working Canadians, frustrations that ranged from democratic accountability to the rising cost of living and the sense that Ottawa had lost touch. He occasionally used populist rhetoric, but avoided conspiracy-laden theories. Instead of clashing with the system, he questioned whether the system was delivering. His campaign unlocked renewed enthusiasm for the Conservative brand, delivering the party's highest share of the popular vote in decades, though he lost his own seat in Carleton. Then came the unexpected twist. Governor General Mary Simon intervened. The Governor General's role is usually ceremonial, but this time, she invoked her constitutional authority, delaying the transition until recounts and legal reviews could confirm the results. This was no partisan gambit. It was a stand for due process. She emphasized that democratic legitimacy couldn't be sidelined for optics or expediency. From coast to coast, Canadians took note. This pause was as much about principle as procedure. Carney was publicly taken aback. He reportedly said he felt jarred by the intervention. He had expected to step into office the following morning. Instead, he found himself in a prolonged limbo, unable to govern or legislate without looming questions over legitimacy. His team pivoted to emphasize that the recounts were normal procedures, yet many Canadians saw them as the first step in reclaiming trust in the system. As the recounts advanced, the margins narrowed even further. Windsor Lakeshore adjusted by just 4 votes. Terra Nova found unexpected ballot recounts reversing outcomes. Terrebonne and Milton remained disputed weeks after ballots were tallied. Public interest soared beyond political debates. Trust in elections Canada plummeted, and people began calling into local radio shows demanding transparency and accountability. Poilievre used the moment strategically. He eschewed combative rhetoric, choosing instead to highlight democratic values. Every vote deserves its day in court, he noted in town halls and rallies. His campaign furnished details from each contested riding, drawing attention to the idea that Canadian democracy depends on accuracy, not just speed. The public responded. Even polls began to show growing sympathy for his consistent focus on electoral integrity. Inside Liberal circles, anxiety deepened. Internal memos leaked grievances about Carney's aloofness. His focus on global image and carbon finance was out of touch with Canadians worried about inflation, housing, and elder care. MPs privately wondered if they were betting the party's future on an image of technocratic competence while ignoring emotional connection. The throne speech, which emphasized green transition, dental care, and child care investments, now seemed to fly over voter heads. Meanwhile, other parties joined the fray. The NDP called for permanent electoral reforms to strengthen ballot security and tighten mail-in processes. The Bloc Québécois echoed concerns over postal mix-ups affecting Quebec voters. Greens and independents reinforced the call for transparency. What started as a two-party upset expanded into a broad national conversation on process over partisanship. Public reactions surged. Social media swarmed with commentary, and call-in programs from Halifax to Edmonton lit up. Even supporters of the result admitted unease. A popular hashtag #EveryVoteMatters, gained traction. Many seized on Mary Simon's stance as a watershed moment, a vice-regal figure rising above political bias to focus on integrity. Some said flatly that this was Canada at its best. Others noted that the pause exposed the fragility of confidence in core institutions. Now, Carney leads a fractured minority government that lacks the authority to sit in Parliament or pass a budget. He risks facing his first confidence vote before he's even sworn in. His advisors reportedly feel pressure to compromise, either step aside or seek a formal coalition with other parties, risking further revolt from within Liberal ranks. Meanwhile, Poilievre is recalibrating his pitch, winning back the trust of voters, not just the mechanics of seats. He's offering a blueprint for cost-of-living relief, housing reform, and systemic accountability. Canada stands at a crossroads. The questions have shifted. Is leadership best defined by economic know-how or emotional intelligence? Can institutions still command trust in a fragmented partisan landscape? And what role should symbolic leaders like the Governor-General play in moderating democratic legitimacy? Depending on how recounts finish, Canada could head back to the polls or seal a new governing deal with precarious authority. Regardless of outcome, this is no ordinary election. This is a test, not just of Carney or Poilievre, but of Canada's democratic soul. Mary Simon's intervention recalibrated expectations. Legitimacy must precede power. Canadians, having reclaimed agency in the vote-counting process, appear determined to hold institutions and elected leaders accountable. Institutions will be tested, narratives reshaped, and trust rebuilt, or fractured for the long term. The aftermath is far from resolved. Whether Carney survives and governs under scrutiny, defaults to a confidence vote, or triggers another election cycle, one thing is clear. This election changed Canada. The system has shifted. The role of voters, the function of oversight, and the balance between ceremonial and real power have all been recalibrated. And all eyes are on what comes next, because in this tightrope moment, every vote, every process, and every leader's decision will echo for years.